our journey with better information management. So our journey started in August 14. We've been on an 8-year journey. Are we there? No. It's an evolving journey. So in August 14, we wrote a specification. It was best intent. It was our aims, our aspirations. 2015, we started the AMP6 program. New contractors in play, and the specification was written. Winner. Or so you thought. No. So the contractors quite rightly challenged the specification. There were some aspirations in there. There were some aims. That's not a requirement. That's not clear. It's ambiguous. We're not doing that. And some of the aspirations or requirements were very high level. We expected the contractors to work in our common data environment. The contractors had other ideas. You know, one contractor in particular spent millions developing their common data environment for this contract, having not read S13, which is our specification. The behavioural change, the challenge, you then move into a little bit further down the line, and you release another version to try to clarify some issues, and they get challenged, and so on and so forth and so on. And as and when you come to use the requirement, if you will, in anger, you realise that you haven't specified the requirement clearly enough. So a good example of that is a 3D model. We write in the specification, we need a 3D model, happy days. The contractors say, oh, there's a cost, and challenge it at program level. Anyone who knows 3D modeling can tell you that if it's done efficiently, then it actually makes the process more efficient. But if not, then it makes it more expensive, you know. Now we're coming to use these 3D models, we realise that we haven't specified the outputs, if you will. You can look at a 3D model for design, and it needs to be certain tolerances. The difference in water levels are critical. The difference between 10 and 15 or 2 mil on a hydraulic model is critical. You need to be really specific with a design model. You move into a construction model, and they have a slightly different view. They put a bit more detail into it. They want to see the laydown areas. You want to use the model to safeguard construction activities, if you will, and so on with commissioning. All of these models have a level of detail. So you get a design model that may be 4 terabytes, then 5 terabytes when construction activities come in, 6 terabytes when you put commissioning in, and then we want an operational model, and we don't want that level of detail. We just want something very low level of detail so you can just walk through it. We don't need to see the construction or the commissioning, but we didn't ask for that in the specification. We asked for the model. So a contractor hands over a model that's maybe 20 terabytes. We've got one site that's 120 terabytes, and we're left with that data. The first thing we need to do to try and use that model is to optimize it. We have challenges from the contractors saying, in your specification, the supply chain are meant to work in your common data environment. We can't get them to work in that environment. They haven't got project-wise, they haven't got 3D modeling skills, they haven't got. And we say, well, you're employing them, don't pay them. It's a really easy commercial mechanism. If you want to pump off them, they need to give you a pump. You also need to do X, Y, and Z. But it's not quite that easy, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of challenges on the way. You know, this journey isn't easy, and we've not finished. We haven't still got specification for what we refer to now as the operational model. We know that it needs to be stripped out. We know that supplier models get put in there and they're at manufacturing level, so another level of detail below the design. We know there's integration issues between the manufacturer's models when you federate them into the design models. We're working collaboratively with supply chain and design and build contractors. They've obviously got a different lens. They're financially motivated, if you will, and quite rightly so. They've got a contract to deliver and they've got to make a profit. You know, we're not naive to it. Are we there? No. Do we expect to ever get there? Probably not. Continuous improvement would always tell you that you should always be looking to ways to improve. But we are on this journey, and this is the information management requirements. Moving on a little bit, because that's just one aspect, if you will. We introduced ProjectWise, and we also got control of the asset register within that time frame. So within our team now, we have the asset register, we have ProjectWise, and we have a new system called AssetWise. AssetWise is a document repository, Bentley will tell you so much more. I'm not here to tell you all the ins and outs of what it can do and what it can't do, but what we can do with it is we can link our asset documents to our asset register. You click on a pump, you get the piece of paper that tells you what the pump is doing. You click on a piece of lifting equipment, you get the certificates, you get the install certificate that you're meant to keep throughout its life. Once you've got that level of information, you can then do a lookup against the number of assets you've got with the number of pieces of paper and get some quality metrics that will tell you whether or not you're compliant, statutory, regulatory, and whether or not you've got all the manufacturing information and the likes of. So it is a document management system that allows you to store documents at asset level, but it is a lot more than that. And it links into a tool that Bentley provide called PlantSight. And the idea with PlantSight is you can then use your models, link it to your register, link it to your documents, and have a model that then you can walk through and find all the documentation, the information that you're looking for associated with that asset. I have got a video to show. Hopefully streaming works. Hopefully the phone's powerful enough and we can see it on the screen. So we call that connection information. You know, people talk about a digital twin and the levels of maturity. You know, where are we? Well, we've not got any real-time data in it. We've not got any predictive data in it, but we do have models with documents against the register. And I say we have them, we don't. We're nearly there. My boss would tell me that we're on the cusp. We're nearly there. In the current plan, we've got 9 sites here in West Cumbria. West Cumbria, for those that don't know, it's a new operating system within the West Cumbria area. We have a new treatment works called Williamsgate, 2 new service reservoirs in Mooter Hill and Harriet Hill, and we have a service reservoir and pumping station at Highleys. We also have some critical sites within the existing infrastructure, and this system then operates as a system, and we can operate it from the centre using real-time data. Is that in our models? No, it's not. The view in United Utilities right now is that the alarms and the levels and that type of information, that level of digital twin, is better represented on dashboards. And I get that. When you go into a treatment works, you want to see where the red button is. You don't want to be in a model looking where the red asset is. You want to see it at high level so you can make interventions. You know, the trick that we're trying to solve, if you will, the problem we're trying to solve, we're trying to build these models in the right way, building up the right structure, building the foundations in the right way, and then hoping that in time, the level and the instrumentation detail can come in. But it's not easy. We have SCADA, we have telemetry. They go to a lower level, like Uniclass, they go to a lower level than product. They go down to instrumentation, which is the next step. You know, so you have an instrument on a pump. Below the instrumentation, you can then have maybe 4 signals. Each one needs to be codified different because one's for the level of the water, one's for the vibration of the pump, one's for the, and so on and so forth. So we've got to try and work out how to build all of the coding structure up that allows us then to take it into these digital, what we refer to as digital twin ready models. So that's a little bit of a story about information management, the introduction of S13 and the challenges and how we can overcome them, how we're still working on them. You know, we're still challenged by the contractors. As with every AMP, a contractor will say, your specifications are very expensive, but we could do it a lot cheaper. Just stop asking us to do all of these expensive things. 3D models are a great one. The contractors say we don't even use them. Well, no, because the technology is not there yet to use them. But we have 3D models all the way back from the beginning of AMP6. As and when we've introduced AssetWise and PlantSight, we can then take them models and attach the information through to them so we get better information. For the guys who want to use it on the ground, if you will. You know, heavily focused on operations, field service engineers, pieces of paper, compliance. So that's the information story. And then I'm going to tell you on to a slightly different story, but very connected. Unfortunately, Warren Buller, the Chief Technologist for Asset Supportability, is unavailable today. And so I have to present this topic as well, which is fine. I was the Programme Manager for Asset Supportability. Asset Supportability is a term from the Ministry of Defence. It's quite an easy concept. When you buy a new asset, make sure you get everything with it that you need to look after it throughout its life. Gone are the days where training is get all the operational guys into a room with bacon sandwiches get them to tick a sheet to say they've been trained, because as and when them guys leave that site, the new guys have no training material. We then have to produce the training material into an operational world. It comes as an OPEX cost, not a CAPEX cost. And when we get an asset, why wouldn't we get the OEM manual? Why wouldn't we get the technical specifications? Why wouldn't we get all of the information that we'd expect to receive on the installation of a new asset? And it sounds straightforward. The concept of it, you'd like to think was a given, but unfortunately, in the past, that's not how projects got delivered. You know, projects, as anyone in the project will know, design, a lot of pressure on getting the design completed to start the build. That's where the money starts turning. Construction activities start turning the money. In the back end of projects, generally the team starts to disband and move on to the next project that's turning money. That's typical. You know, we have to work with that. And so this slide, again, the maturity of it, we brought the spec in in February 17. We didn't introduce S15 in February 17. We put some really wily words into SO1, which is our general specification. And quite rightly, the contractor said, well, what do all them mean? And we went, well, we don't know. And they said, yeah, but you contracted us to do it. No, we did it for a purpose. And that was to get you around the table to talk about what we want and how to specify it. And what we agreed with the contractors was that we would do it, and I'll forget the term now, it's so many years ago. We would do it in pilot areas. It wasn't that term, but that's what we said. And we picked a few projects just to trial it on. I think 1 or 2 by each contractor. At that time, there was 4 contractors, and we all played a part in trying to understand what it was that we wanted off the contractor at the end of the job. Again, collaboratively, and this slide sort of depicts what it is and what asset supportability is about. Within the design process, the grey block on the left, there's an element of identification of the assets to be used. Them assets have a maintenance regime. Those assets have technical information. Those assets have spares requirement, and they also have a requirement for training. You know, one of the things in the water industry, people talk about the lowest whole life cost. Well, if you don't have to supply an OEM manual, if you don't have to supply an operation and maintenance manual, if you don't have to supply training materials because they've already been supplied, it leads you to picking assets that we're already using. That's not to differentiate between innovation, but if we already have the information, it can make the onboarding cheaper. And that's the lowest whole life cost. And that's one of the simple ways to explain it, if you will. You know, there's a quote on there saying game changer. And is it a game changer? It shouldn't be, should it? You know, information management shouldn't be a game changer. Getting the right information when we deliver assets shouldn't. You know, one of the concepts is at the design process, you know what assets you're delivering. Give us all the pieces of paper at the design phase. Don't wait until we start commissioning or handover or final acceptance to finalise these documents. You know, you talk about better information management. The earlier up the life cycle it is, the more time we have as a client to use that information. So again, a story about asset supportability. The level of detail is obviously missing for this presentation. A story about better information management, how the two of them work collectively together. I think, yeah, I'll move on to the video. So hopefully, he says, there's no sound on this video, and if it was really technical, I'll be able to tell you a few things about it. So I'll try. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing a model inserted, real life, into the landscape. It's a trial, as the header says. The future's in touching distance. This is High-Leas. It's a service res. It's got a pumping station in it. When this is actually installed, that grey area will be colour-coded in line with the location. Okay. And what you're seeing now is, if I'm technical, this might be right, a Navisworks model, a 3D Navisworks model. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing a layer of that model, a different view. And this particular view is the 3D model view showing the pipes. We then click on a slightly different view, and I'm hoping I'm right, and we get into the valve house. You know, we click on another view in a moment, and we go into the pump station. Within these models that are handed over, we then insert tags, these little yellow diamonds that you'll see. These tags link into the asset register through AssetWise. So this is a plant site system with a 3D model loaded up, optimized to reduce its size, with tags inserted to connect it to AssetWise. AssetWise, as previously said, asset registry with asset documents. Click on the tag, find out the asset details, the maintenance requirements, the technical, the characteristics, and also the documents associated with it. On the right-hand side, what you'll see there is the asset register details. Live, straight through to the asset register. Any changes in the asset register, straight through to these models. No rework, just live link, asset registry details. Documents, live, as and when new documents are uploaded. The document set changes. Certifications put in, the old one is kept as a revision. New certificates uploaded. I think what it's showing now is you click on either the right or the left of that modeling plant site, and now you're into AssetWise. This is the AssetWise front end. What it's showing you now is the asset registry details, the F number, that's our functional location number. It's where we put the equipment. If you imagine it like a garage, the car is the equipment, and the garage is the asset. So we can change equipment out of assets, but the asset always remains. What you've noticed on the TV screen is we've just clicked on a document. This is I believe it's an electrical line diagram. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe it is. It's then going to move on to a different type of document. It's an installation of a pump, and we have that information as well. So then you start to think about the handover process and asset supportability, and these are the documents that are moving through. We get all the documents from the projects and we load them up into AssetWise. We bring the model in from the projects and we load it up into AssetWise, and we connect the two. And then we hand over to operations a model connected to the register and linked to all the documents that they'll ever need. FSEs, then they can look at the installation type diagrams. Process controllers, they can look at the process, the operational type information. What it's going to show you now is that because you're connecting the asset register, the documentation, the models together, and using a unique identifier with regards to the F number and the asset data hierarchy, we can insert another view, and that view is what people might know as the intelligent P&IDs, the process and instrumentation diagrams, the diagrams that show you the schematic of the works, the ones where process controllers need to understand which valve to switch off and which ones to turn on in order to carry out some of the operational activities. You can see that you click on one valve on the 3D model. I think it's slightly greenish, and it takes you to the valve on the P&ID. Similarly, if you click on the P&ID on the valve, it takes you to the valve on the 3D model. And all of them connect you to the same information because it's the same asset register. It's the same bit of data. It's nothing different. It's funky. It's nearly there. We've got 9 to do. And we're also doing one at Oswald Street, water treatment works. That has its own challenges because there's a lot of historical information. We have to cleanse the asset register. We have to collect the documents. You know, we're trying to roll out AssetWise. We think there's 13 million documents in UU. The asset register's got more than 500,000 of point assets on it. That doesn't include instrumentation or pipes. They're in different systems. You know, we're on a journey. It's a long journey, but we've got something here in front of us that we believe operations will make great use of. We have to work out the level of detail we want from the models. We have to work out, you know, what documents we need against the assets. We've got so many strands that are ongoing to do with information management, and this is just one of them. It takes you on a journey from the development of S15 in 2004, sorry, S13, should know them. The development of S15 in 2017. You know, one's an 8-year journey, it's still ongoing. Are we there? No, we're not. One's a 5-year journey. Are we there? No, we're not. You know, the contractors, change curves, anger, denial, pricing. You know, collaboration is the only way to work. That's how we try and work with people. And you wonder, if you will, where it came from. And I put this slide in here because this slide was presented, I believe, in 2015 to this forum, BIM4Water. It was presented by Gary Nodwell. He had this vision that when they introduced the BIM standard, that these were the steps that they needed to go through. It's not been doctored. You know, you can see some lines in there about digital twins and when we'll be ready to do them. And, you know, we're on a journey. This journey started a long time ago. We're still trying to get better use of information. We're trying to be more efficient and more effective. That's me. Nothing else to say. I'll take questions if anyone's got any questions, or if we've no time, I'll network and take questions. Go on, Jamie.
I was just thinking about the potential cultural behaviour. Comment on, you know, how it's received by the people who want to get to use this, how you perhaps overcome some challenges.
Yeah, you know, I think I ended with the collaboration aspects of it. If you take S13 as an example, you know, the contractor who invested a lot of money in developing their project-wide system at a corporate level, then to find out that we wanted them to work in our environment. You know, the people we engaged with understood it, but they had paymasters above them, and there was a corporate position. And the corporate position was, we'll do what we want because we are who we are. And yet, contractually, they were specified to ourselves. And as anyone knows on project delivery, if you go down that route, program always wins because the contractor says, we're going to delay. Oh, well, let's not do that bit on this job because the program wins. Time and cost, not quality. You know, people didn't value the value of information in 2014. You know, so in short, you know, people understand it. You know, this room understands it. That doesn't mean to say that everyone in this room is going to change their behaviours and adopt everything minute one. We focus on collaboration and talking, explaining, and we try and do it in trials and chunks. We try and work with the contractors and explain what we're trying to do. We try and leverage every opportunity to work closer together, but it is difficult. You know, projects are working to financial constraints. The client doesn't necessarily have those constraints. You know, it's often being said that, you know, a £10 million project, it might only make 5% profit. It might not even make that. 5% profit on a £10 million job, if my maths are good, will work out at about 500,000. You know, as a client, we can spend 500,000. It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but we can spend it. As a contracting organisation, that's the profit of a £10 million job. And they might not make 5%, they might make 2%. And so to spend 500,000 changing systems and processes and behaviours means they have to generate 20, 25 million pounds worth of turnover just to stand still. So you know, we're not naive to it. We know it's a challenge. But the only way that we find is that we work together. And if we work together and explain that story, it's been the same with asset supportability, with S15, the same with S13. We always get challenges, but that's life, isn't it? Everyone gets challenges.
I've got
Take on.
Have you found as an owner-operator, you talked a lot about receiving 3D models or those models that are generated within capital delivery?
Yeah.
Have you found that because of that, it's sort of two things, it's a two-point question. First one is about the skills and capabilities for organisations. Go for that bit first.
No, absolutely. You know, we've got one technical model type person, because as most clients, we don't produce models. We just need to work out what to do with the models. And so we've got a guy, you know, when we start to land these, how are we going to keep these models up to date? Change management. Absolutely. You know, so, you know, there's a concept here that says you change an asset, the asset register flags up some documents need to be changed. It improves change control. It improves operational change management. But then someone has to update the model. And then you've got to work out whether it's a change or a material change. Is it the same type of equipment that's been changed out? No problem. Or is it, and therefore the asset register gets updated? Or is it a different type of pump and therefore the model needs to be updated? So to answer your question, yes, we know there's technical challenges. We have a company business plan like everybody. We have a little bit of growth in the modelling team within the plan. Whether that gets supported in these challenging cost of living, cut to the quick, you know, but it's on the roadmap. We know we need to do it. As and when we land more and more of these, it's the only way to keep them up to date. So yeah, we know the skills that we need. We've identified them. We've put them into a plan. It may be unaffordable this year, and you have to accept that. But in the bigger picture, it's on the plan, and we know we need them.
And the second point really is very important about sort of new schemes, percentage of your assets, which you've got an awful lot of stuff already spinning and whirring in the ground doing its job. How do you apply what you do
again? As any client knows, the operational world, the OPEX challenge is a challenge. Is the money coming through from that? No, there's not. You don't have headroom in operational costs. They have events, and that takes headroom. And then budgets get squeezed even though there's events. And so can they afford to fund us? No, they can't. So we have to look to fund it through the capital scheme. So our plan is that we make small incremental change. You know, every AMP in the price review, we may go to the regulator and say, wouldn't it be great if we did this? And it will cost us this much money. And then my experience tells me that the regulator says, trim your costs, and they say, okay, what about getting rid of that bit? And then the business and the regulator agree that that's a bit that doesn't get funded, and you're left with where you are. So yeah, we're trying to move things through from the project world. The operational world is there. We are doing some exemplars. As I said, we're doing Oswestry, we're doing the whole works, but it's a challenge. There's 4,500 assets you need to validate. Cost, circa 100,000. We then need to tag them and make sure you've got the right labels on, because we've got 40 years of information. I won't call them poor management, but we didn't have the asset data hierarchy. So they put a label on there that made sense to that site, and then it never got relabeled because no one relabeled it. And you know, history has moved on, and the site is what it was when it was built. And Oswestry was built in 1880 something, and some of the walls and things in there are labelled up appropriately. So we've got to relabel everything, and then we've got to laser scan everything, and then we've got to build a 3D model against everything, and then we've got to get all the documents, and we found about 5,000 documents. We need to scan them and digitize them, and we need to codify them. We need to upload them into AssetWise. Yeah, challenge, but we're doing it, and we're trying. And it's been, you know, termed as an exemplar. It's not BAU. It will never be BAU. And the costs, you know, we demonstrate the need and the point, and we hope the regulator sees the value and supports us in this journey. Okay, great.
Thank you very much.